All right. Good morning, everybody. Hope you guys are having yourselves a fantastic start to your AM here. Good morning, Suresh, Igor, Gabe, Steven, Gary, Craig, Abraham, John, Callum. Hope you guys are all having yourselves fantastic mornings here today and are excited for what looks like a little bit of a short-term resolution to the chop that we've seen in the last little bit, right? So let's start mapping things out here a little bit, figure out what we want to do, and hopefully we have a strong backdrop of trending conditions here now for the next little bit, right? 2 weeks or so of consolidation certainly should give us good continuation here higher, right? Price action has been kind of compressed. So generally compression leads to expansion, right? Expansion leads to compression. So let's see if we can see a excellent kind of range or kind of time period, right, for us to crush with the markets. Obviously, guys, right, for some of you, important that we still think about our position sizing, right? Our risk management, focus on those variables, because if we start to get trending conditions and we start to get a few more opportunities, it's going to be the consistent execution of our technique that ultimately makes us the most amount of money. So we don't want to be overreacting to losers. We don't want to be overreacting to winners. We need to stay present, calm, right, in the moment and in control of sort of our emotional well-being, right, in the market. So the only way that you're able to consistently do that, or at least the only way that I'm able to consistently do that, is by essentially just obsessing, right, over that risk number. So always working backwards from that element. And then once I'm happy that that number is under control, or that I'm able to essentially lose a trade without losing my head, or win a trade, right, without losing my head, then ultimately I'm going to have conviction and confidence, and I can execute my technique over the next 100 trades and ultimately get the objective that I'm looking for. Something that I talked about a little bit maybe 2 weeks ago here at this point, but I think that every trader is probably like less than maybe 100 trades away from achieving whatever their P&L objective is, right? So if your goal is to make $1 million, if your goal is to make 100,000, whatever it could be, you could be in theory here, I would say, maybe not could be, you should be in theory here with good risk management about 100 trades away from sort of that first P&L objective. And so if we can start behaving and thinking in that context, I think we'll ultimately see a lot more success with how we're executing our trading decisions. All right, so morning rant here out of the way. Let's kind of get after it and figure out exactly what we want to do. First things first, right? Take a look at the economic calendar. We had jobless claims come out here this morning. Fine. We got PMI coming out at 9:45, and then a few little data drops here at 10 a.m. Hey Jay, how you doing? But nothing too crazy, I would say, right? So we'll be okay from a data perspective. Certainly nothing with the same ferocity and intensity that we saw with FOMC. So let's see if we can take advantage of this early morning momentum and catch ourselves a couple nice plays. So let's start out right with S&P 500, right? What would be the count here? What are we saying is the call it base level of price action? And then let's go from there. How you doing, Brian? And good morning to everyone listening in on Twitter Spaces. Appreciate you guys tuning in. If you guys are enjoying this, appreciate if you liked it and shared this. We get more people in here, the more the merrier. And hopefully everyone then has a great foundation for their trading day. So on the index level, right, we've got 3 out of 3 here to the upside. So strong daily candle on a breakout through upper trend resistance, on increasing volume, and then a gap up here this morning. Our biggest concern always with gap up markets is that the move has happened overnight. So we do want to be a little bit cautious within that context. But I'm ultimately still thinking that we've got trending or breakout conditions after yesterday's wedge pattern that was also kind of timed up, right, with the FOMC announcement. So good breakout and hold, good momentum here. And so I'd like to see, or would continue to have, a bullish bias this morning. We're going to call this a 3 for 3 to the upside, and we'd be looking for breakout scenarios here only this AM. If I get reversals, cool. I might get better opportunities in the leading names to play those like those kind of setups, maybe even on like different types of securities. But I have a trend breakout. I think I've got trending PA higher. So let's see if I can take advantage of that oomph for a little bit. So bullish bias here this morning. Biggest concern essentially would be that that move happened overnight. So let's make sure that that opening range is relatively realistic, right? We're not looking at like a 30 or 40 point move. And then from there, we'll be able to get some pretty decent follow through. Sorry, that should look a little bit better. All right. QQQ. Pretty similar story here, right? So we have to understand the context of what this volume, these outlier volumes are, right? So I would say it's not outlier compared to the volume of a roll, but that's kind of expected. We're probably never going to exceed that kind of volume. That's pretty consistently, right, the largest volume standard or like the largest average along the kind of calendar year here pretty consistently. So I'm not too concerned about that, no. Okay. QQQ, what's the count? The bigger concern for me, Brad, would be just the size of the gap, right? Make sure that that move hasn't been exhausted there early. So we'd still like to see a very significant amount of enthusiasm show up, right? It's more the size of the gap that maybe concerns me versus the volume profile. The bigger the gap is, generally the easier it is to say, okay, I'm going to take my win and go home type thing, right? So that would be more the bigger concern here across the board versus the volume. It's increasing relative to previous day. That for me is kind of like more binary versus anything. All right, so QQQ, right? 3 for 3 to the upside. Pattern breakout, testing all-time highs. So you'd be looking for a continuation narrative here and a breakout higher. What's optimistic, right, about both indexes here this morning is that you are seeing consistent stories, right? So an increasing volume breakout from Q above its upper trend line, now testing all-time highs, is a pretty similar story to a wedge breakout now making new all-time highs. So we've got consistent narratives across the board, which makes me feel it's a little bit more likely that we could get trending conditions and at least take advantage of a little bit of a move higher. Now, again, my biggest concern here with QQQ is just the size of this gap up, right? This is a pretty big move higher, and I'd like to be a little bit patient here, maybe not forcing anything or rushing anything or over trading anything until I see basically if this gap can hold. So I would say QQQ, I'm going to default to see a move around maybe that 450 area, and then we can kind of go from there. From the index level, I'll focus on ES and then figure it out. Otherwise, look at the leading names, right? And we can kind of go from there. Okay, Apple. This swing trade continues to look better, maybe more than a day trade, right? Been in this since about the 170s. So we're still looking to get that kind of big follow through so I can start trimming here a little bit. But $10 in 10 days, I won't complain about that here too much if we could kind of continue to get some follow through. But ultimately, this is giving me reasons to be pessimistic, right? Yesterday on the index level, we saw breakouts from trend lines and breakouts on an increasing volume standard, whereas Apple, right, maybe found a little bit of short-term resistance at that trend line and wasn't able to make higher highs on just like enthusiastic volume, right? Or a standard that was impressive enough that I should fall in love with. So it doesn't mean it's a complete failure. It just means that we need to apply a stricter volume standard. Hey, Topher. Which means we need to apply a stricter volume standard to argue that we're actually getting a breakout from this consolidation, right? So if we got stuck under here, maybe we can say we've got a little bit of a wedge breakout forming, something along those lines. I mean, if you set it up like this, it almost feels like it maybe wants to break lower. But if I'm going to invalidate this trend line resistance, I need to invalidate it on volume, and I still haven't seen that occur here on Apple. So I'm going to say if I can get a breakout or clear that trend line, then I need to see it occur on the biggest volume standard of the week and basically make sure that this is now syncing up and telling me the same narrative that I'm seeing on the index level. The more consistent story that I get, easier it is for me to sustain trending price action. If Apple continues to lag and doesn't really want to play in this rally, then I'll likely cut this position for a, I don't know, $10 a share win, and then move on to deploy my capital somewhere else longer term. But I still think this has got quite a bit of reasons to be optimistic around that 179 area, but we need to get through and clear that consolidation. And then we're looking 179, right, if we can get there. And then we go 180, 181, maybe up to where, up towards 185-ish, like dollar along the way on Apple. So it looks good, but it's got some work to do. And this consolidation narrative, right, makes sense with a 1 for 3 count. Make sense? Okay, Tesla, what's the count here? Looks a little bit like Apple, right? Kind of a similar pattern. Just trying to get messy. We're trying to get a little bit too complicated here. But that 178 seems like a barrier. We have a 3 for 3 here, but not the world's greatest volume profile on this kind of second most bullish candle here. So I'd probably like to see an increasing volume standard, right? Or bigger than what I saw there yesterday. If we're going to say that this is consolidating under this trend line, then we'd like to think, or sorry, we should be asking ourselves, right? If it's consolidating under this trend line and it gave us increasing volume, doesn't really feel like a sign of strength, right? Because if it was strong, it would have broken and held above that barrier, and we maybe would have seen a more impressive chunk of follow through. So if yesterday's volume wasn't strong enough to give us that breakout setup, I want to make sure that I'm overcoming or overwhelming that volume standard before I fall in love, essentially. So yeah, Tesla looks great, but it's got to give me that breakout on bigger volume than what I saw there yesterday. Doesn't need to be biggest volume of the week, because biggest volume of the week kind of supports our thesis, right? It's already kind of bullish momentum. Whereas on Apple, right, the biggest volume standard of the week is kind of a selling candle. So if we could overcome and just break out through that resistance, see a little bit of short-term momentum step back in, then I certainly think Tesla's got, yeah, space maybe towards like 187. Yeah, I'd say 187 would be sort of the realistic target. So you got like $10 worth of upside from its current pre-market price, and I would love to see that kind of action here this morning. So although we have a 3 for 3, right, we're saying that this is essentially consolidation, right? Within the context of the price action that we've identified here in the last couple of days, Tesla essentially gave us a consolidation day there yesterday, and we're looking for that breakout. Therefore, right, I can't look for dip buys inside yesterday's range because I haven't formally kind of introduced or created, right, that trending price action. So although we have a technical 3 for 3, which would indicate that we do have bullish control, it's not clear enough that they've broken out through their area of resistance. And so we don't want to give them too much credit and look for dip buys until that breakout has been established. Cool. What's the count here, guys? Microsoft. Hey, Dayon, how you doing? So 2 out of 3 without volume, right? Pretty big gap up here, but you're into all-time highs. So probably not a reason to be very aggressively bearish here. In theory, you could look for Bollinger Band reversal setups, fill that gap, maybe back down towards 426. I don't know what's on my mind here this morning. And then we can get a little, maybe a bit of a narrative there. But Microsoft's strength is hard to want to fade here recently. Doesn't really sustain. We've kind of broken out a little bit. We're making new all-time highs. Bears had like a new level of enthusiasm here, so I reckon they're probably a little bit trapped. Like, I could talk myself out of that bear case way too easily, I think. If I am going to see a breakout, though, I need to see breakout on biggest vol of the week. So we're kind of back in that Apple territory, although, like, just from a volume standard perspective. But Microsoft, this should be an easier biggest volume of the week standard to achieve than what we saw on Apple. So 2 out of 3 without volume continues to be the narrative. We're looking for a 430 breakout. And then all-time highs, we've kind of pretty limited reasons to sell. So I'm going 430, 432, 435. The number that's coming out to mind, 438, 440. And then you can go kind of 0.5% along the way at that point to really push this thing higher. But I've got very minimal reasons to want to be aggressively bearish here first, right? Let's see evidence that bulls can fail and that bears can actually sustain some downside pressure for more than just a day or two before we get too carried away thinking that, hey, we're going to catch this all the way from the top to the bottom. That might be feels a little bit too aggressive. Yeah, I would like to see just a breakout here sooner rather than later. That would be the strongest setup for me here for sure. Again, right, it's nice to see consistent stories across the board where a lot of names are giving us breakout scenarios. Meta, I'm going to pass on this. It is giving me a breakout, but I still feel like it needs a little bit more work to do to get through towards these highs, right? I don't have enough resistance to that to call that really like a trend line breakout. So I would like to see basically it overcome the indecision I saw there start of that week, like we talked about on the indexes, right? So indexes, we kind of got stuck from say the 5th or the 8th onward. Meta kind of looks like the same, right? Where we're stuck at that resistance established from Friday, March 8th. So I'd like to overcome and break out through that range. If I can, voice cracking there, if I can get a high volume breakout or see good momentum kind of pop up and over. That would give me conviction that this is going to have some legs higher. But I don't need to be very aggressive chasing this or forcing this here short term. Meta maybe is a look for tomorrow or for Monday. Okay, Amazon pushing all-time highs, 3 for 3 to the upside. Sorry, not pushing all-time highs. Within range though, within striking distance. What we are looking for here is a resolution to basically this resistance point. So if we look at our chart here, Monday, March 4th, Friday, March 8th, Thursday, March 14th are all kind of areas where you've seen price action reject and fail before here on Amazon, right? All those highs were relative highs within sort of the confines of that recent range. Also, not really a surprise, right, that number is just under a pretty big psychological level. So this 180 kind of barrier that we'd like to climb over ultimately could be in play here as long as we see enough enthusiasm and enough volume stepping in to set that up for us. So, yeah, I'm interested in a 180 breakout here, and that's got to occur on, yeah, biggest volume of the week. Again, right, where we don't have a clear breakout from this range of consolidation. So I'm less interested in dip buy scenarios inside these 3 for 3s. I'm still looking for a cleaner indication of trending price action. So it's not really a dip buy day for me here. I'm looking for a breakout day. If I don't get a breakout, maybe then there's an opportunity to look for some green to red reversals. If I see bulls really fail aggressively. But yesterday, the baton was sort of passed on to them. So I'd like to see if that momentum can essentially transfer over here today. If it doesn't, then that weakness maybe wouldn't be the best indication of a continuation narrative, and maybe would tell me that yesterday's move was a bit of a fake. So I want to be a little bit more cautious looking for dip buys here today, and I would anticipate seeing momentum being strong if we see it early. right? Like there's minimal reasons for either bulls or bears to wait to establish their thesis here today, essentially, right? They don't need to be sneaky. They need to position themselves well so they can take advantage of whatever the next leg is. And then on this Amazon, to get back to this, right, we have to look really far out to our left for those next areas of perceived support and resistance. So we're going back November 2021 into that sort of range where we're starting to target moves that are essentially $1 along the way up towards that 189 shelf. So I think we can comfortably map that out to 190, just 0.5% along the way. And that would give me a ton of follow through if I could find it. So 180, 181, 182, 183, like I said, buck along the way towards 190. Okay. AMD, I'm going to pass. Hey, Mike, how you doing? All right, NVIDIA, you're looking for a 927 breakout? Maybe 928? Yeah, you can go 927. So yesterday, inside bar. And we want, again, right? Biggest vol of the week. And then we want to see a breakout of this, call it consolidation, right? So we can create trending price action. And then we're going 927. And then your next point of contact is 975, which is absurd. So I'm going to go 927, 930, 935. It's going to go $5 along the way. So obviously, right, there's so much potential space on something like an NVIDIA here this morning that I would be sizing down significantly. The main issue I have with this name is that I tend to not be able to get the position sizing I want in it because it's, one, expensive, and it's hard to get a stop loss in kind of my sweet spot area. So likely would be sizing down here to be pretty small, but if I could get some follow through, we're targeting moves that are like $5 along the way. So even if I'm buying 500 shares or something along those lines, there's still quite a lot of potential if that move comes together. All right. So add it to the list for sure. Netflix breaking out, but I see a bit more maybe resistance here. That's intimidating. I'm going to stay away from this. I'm not very enthusiastic about it. Same thing with Google. Google opening up in the middle of Monday's high volume sell-off bar. So I'm going to sit on hands here. Not interested in taking that. BA, 3 for 3 to the upside. Little gap up. Maybe it's found a little short-term bottom. If you could find a breakout over 190, you've got basically an area where you've seen bulls bounce back from there before, where you could push up back up towards sort of 196. But I'm less optimistic or enthusiastic essentially about trading names where every flight that happens, there's the risk of a door flying off. So I'm less interested in that here, to be honest with you guys. Not really in my wheelhouse. And I feel like I've got plenty of setups here this morning, right? S&P to the upside, Apple, Tesla, Microsoft, NVIDIA, and Amazon, all giving me good opportunities for breakout setups here this morning. So I'm pretty confident that I should be able to get a good opportunity there. Hopefully, right, get something on the index level and we can get ourselves a little bit of joy. But yeah, guys, let's crush it, right? Let's put ourselves in good situations to be successful here today. Focus on the variables we can control, right? Execute well, be disciplined, ruthless, right? And honestly, just thinking about our position sizing, thinking about our risk management, thinking about, okay, where's a realistic profit target? Can I scale out here? Is this a good spot? And not getting too greedy out there. So much money to be made that let's not get in our own ways and prevent ourselves from kind of making that obvious cash here today. So slow and steady here, guys. Control the variables we can, and hopefully we have ourselves some joy. For those of you listening on Twitter Spaces, thank you very much for tuning in. We'll do another pre-market prep here tomorrow starting at 9 a.m. We'll do a quick little rundown then. But appreciate you guys tuning in and hope you guys have yourselves a fantastic trading day. Peace. All right, DTR members, everybody else. Hope you guys are ready to hopefully have ourselves a little bit of fun here today. Hopefully that trading view execution video was helpful for everyone. Posted that in the trading docs there. Please take a look. Just gonna log out of this, right? So yeah, please take a look and make sure that that's kind of all set up and going for you guys. You got a few minutes for the market open, so if you haven't watched it, you should be able to watch it at 2x speed and quickly get a good or brief review of what you need to do and how. But look, guys, we have to be excellent executioners. We got to be able to understand how we're entering trades, why we're exiting trades, how we do those techniques. So best way for you to learn that and get conviction with it is to practice and do it yourself. Obviously, if you are going to be using the paper trading feature here on TradingView, don't be unrealistic with your position sizing, right? So on a 250K account with futures, you're going to be capped at 27 max contracts. So if you're buying 270 contracts per trade and you're like, oh my gosh, I made $50,000 here today, it's not really realistic, right, of what you're actually going to be able to accomplish or achieve. So if you want to practice and you want to use that technique, make sure that you're actually using it to replicate the same conditions that you'll be under for when you do your evaluation, right? You don't want to be getting used to making $5,000 a point, right? Because you're trading in paper trader, when in reality, that's not a realistic position sizing, right? It's going to make you hold on for bigger wins when those things aren't there. And it's going to make big losses feel really small because you're used to even bigger drawdown. So let's make sure that if we're going to be practicing, right, we're practicing the right way. We're not breaking any rules and we're not just like being idiots, right, with our position sizing. So let's have ourselves a big morning here, guys. I am pretty optimistic. I'm pretty excited that we should be able to get ourselves a opportunity or two. And I'm hopeful that we can crush it out there. If you have any tickers that you're looking at, right, any names that you want me to go over, now is the time to pop in the chat. We got a couple minutes here. So fire away, guys. Let's get after it. All right, there's market open, team. So let's see how these ranges get established here this AM. What's our biggest concern here this morning? I mean, besides being wrong, we'll be wrong plenty of times. But based on our pre-market prep, what's the biggest concern? Too big of an opening range, or move happened in the gap, right? Move happened overnight. So good volume on Amazon. Like that's Pretty impressive volume right off the open. So we need to see a good enough candle strength here. We'll come back to that. Okay, there's Tesla. Big move. Needs to hold, right? Needs to hold. We'll come back to it. Watching both on the 5-min time frame, right? Watching both on the 5-min. Okay, Amazon hitting 181 here. So we'd be targeting a move towards 182. See if this candle can close strong enough. So here's a question for you guys. What is the earliest possible time that we could get an opening range breakout entry? Everything lined up perfectly. Okay, immediate higher high. Yeah, it'd be 936. Right, if your first signal is on the 3-min, because you got to get that first candle to establish the range, and then second candle to break out and hold. Okay, possibly immediate higher high. Tesla, no confirmation. Amazon, I'm not sure if this is good enough. I'm gonna watch just for a second here. I'm not sure if I have enough index cooperation yet. The one thing that I don't think I think is a failed confirmation is if we're going to be targeting 182, then our setup confirmation is a break, close, and hold of 181. I don't think, I know that that didn't occur. So I think I can talk myself out of this. I'm going to wait for some slightly longer time frames here. So we can get maybe a nice vol breakout here on the 3. Pretty good opening range, 5.5 points. That's pretty reasonable. Okay, so, hey D-Wayne, how you doing? So we need to see increasing volume here. We got a chance. So if this breaks out, right, then that means I need to see an entry around 53.15 and a quarter or lower. I like to see maybe a little bit lower. Like I said, guys, my sweet spot is going to be about 3 to 4 points. I think about 3 points, right, per trade, kind of where I want to be. Okay, not going to be increasing volume, but still closing inside the range, so we're still in play here. We'd just like to see a high volume breakout, right? Hey, Brian, how you doing? Still no confirmation, right? We're still inside that range, no breakout above on volume. So we're looking for an active setup here, right? A setup will occur when we get a higher high above the opening range. Confirmation will occur when we get and hold a higher high on an increasing volume standard. Okay, nice. Avoided a fake out. That feels good. Is that very clear to everyone? I understand the what we're waiting for here. Right? So that higher high equals setup trigger. Now we need confirmation. And then, right, as it stands, we can start to map this out a little bit. Because we know our stop loss, if this becomes confirmation, right, would be the low of our confirmation candle, maybe minus 2 ticks. So something like that, maybe. So that would give me a 3-point stop on an entry under 53.1750. So I know I can set that as my limit price if, right, I get increasing volume here. So as things are coming together, right, now I can start to set things up. So I know my price would be 53.1750. My stop loss have to be 53.1450. And there we go. Now we got confirmation, right? We've got a high vol breakout here. So let's see if we can get the appropriate pullback to justify this trade. Okay. So now I've got my order set, ready to go. All I got to do is click the trigger. And let's see. So looking for an entry, right, off of 53.1750. Let's see if it can happen. It's already set, waiting, right? So it's binary. Either it now hits that price or it doesn't. Come on. All right, so now I am in, guys. See if this works. So what would be our profit target here? First scale out would be what? Yeah, spot on, Josh, exactly. So let's see here. I'd like to survive, that'd be nice. So maybe not the perfect entry here, but not the worst. Let's see if we can now go higher. Come on, give me that follow through here. Come on. All right, so we're going to start moving here, guys. Let's see if we can start managing our position. So now I can already set my profit target, right? I can start to set up that order here if it comes together. Let's see if it can climb here. It's hanging out my entry price. Let's see. So add entry. Doesn't want to give me too much follow through here, over or under. I hate trades that take a long time. They're the worst. I just got stopped out, guys. Just got stopped out. See if this will set back up on a longer time frame. That feels maybe a little bit dirty there. Or maybe we can get now, if it's a failed breakout, we could play a red to green reversal. Try green to red reversal. Okay, not yet. It's a little bit dirty. Okay, what did that to? I mean, 3 points, no big deal. So what do we need to see here, right, to have conviction that it's bears now? Okay, on the 10 min, it's giving you a downside signal. Let's see. Okay, 5 min signal now too. Tough to think that that's going to be maybe a realistic entry though, right? So you like to see this 3 min go increasing because then you can at least have like a reasonable stop loss spot. Yeah, but if everything's breaking down across the board and I'm seeing consistent stories of selling pressure and bulls failing, then I'm happy to switch to the downside here, right? So if everything here is looking like a rejection, then I'm being told once I see bulls fail that there's an opportunity for bears now to step in. So I'm looking, right, to take advantage of that potential shift. Talked about, right? It's not a dip buy day here. We want to see trending price action. So if we see one trend fail in one direction, that gives the opportunity for the other trend to take advantage. Okay, so let's watch here, right? 53.10. Just watching carefully here for a sec. I'm not rushing into this. $9.52, still pretty early. Still no rush here, right? Still no rush. It's basically the exact same setup, but now to the downside, right? It's kind of funny. I can't answer that question, Brian. I'm not sure. That's a question for Tradeovate support, unfortunately. Okay, I'm watching here, team. I am watching this 12 area. Okay, so we can get maybe 53.12 here. Okay, let's watch. Let's watch. I might be able to get this on the 5. Should be something like that. It's a bit maybe more than I'd like to see as a stop loss. I've got good signal confluence. So it's just a question of, do I feel shakeout proof here? All right. Do feel pretty good. All right, so let's see if we can get some action here. All right, guys, let's see if we can get an entry, avoid a stop loss. Wait a sec. 1350-ish. All right, guys, I am in average price 53.1425. Let's see if this thing can go here for me. Come on. Yes, let's go. You fake me out both ways. Okay, let's see if we can go here. So where would be our first target here, team? Where would be our first target? So if it's 4.5 points stop, give or take, right? Your target would be right here, 53.0975. What I would say, don't like, again, right, not instantly green on my entry. I like to be green almost right away here. The longer it takes, right, the worse it feels generally. And then what else are you wrong about, right? Point away from entry. Give me some separation here. Come on. No dip buy opportunity here. Gosh, this feels a little bit demoralizing. Okay, come on, push. You want to see control here. Bulls lost control, so come on, Bears. Like I said, guys, 53.0975 first profit target. We got the leading names cracking here, so it feels a little bit like we might have the right. Honestly, my biggest fear is that we get chopped to death here. Ugh. So up a point. I mean, up a point's nothing to be super stoked about. For fuck's sake. Man, today is making me fucking work. Give me back the entry price here. So, possible fake out here on the 3. Again, another trade where I don't think I got my timing right on these, right? Just, if I have to wait for 20 minutes to get bailed out, I probably got the wrong timing. Down 2 points. Come on, let's see if it needs to go quick. I'm gonna put a 10-minute shot clock on this. Just watching. I'm not flipping here. Fuck me. So, part of me that wants to cut this at just a 2-point loss. I think I have the right direction though. Right direction, wrong timing is still wrong. Okay, back to entry price. Let's go here. I'm not fucking around. How long's it been now? Man, just give me a little bit of separation here. Feels like a big 2 points. Where's your stop loss on this second trade, Abraham? Or on your second trade? Where was your stop loss, Abraham? What was the price? Abraham, what was your stop loss price, man? Come on, I'm trying to help you here. 319, 53.19, okay. How'd you get stopped out? At what time did you get stopped out? Not sure how that would have gone earlier prior to... This is crazy. Yeah, you guys saw it go through my stop loss too, right? So I am out. Ah, I fucking hate this job sometimes. No, I know the price, Abraham. What time, man? What time? Right? Because that didn't occur until a minute ago. So it seemed like you got stopped out before that price occurred, right? That's why I'm asking. It's crazy. Fake out higher, fake out lower, run higher. Fucking sweet. What time? What time? Yeah, ultimately not terrible. My max loss on these trades is $1,500. I'm down about $27.50 right now. I'm kind of getting my ass kicked a little bit this week. Fucking sucks. Well, I can't believe, but yeah, I got 15 min, right? Says it all here. Doji, doji, doji. So 0 for 2 on the day, down 7 points. Disappointing, yes. Unrecoverable, no. You can get a 7-point move on the index pretty easy. But annoyed, a little bit annoyed. All right, so let's do some critiquing here, right? Do the ugly work. If we were to compare, oh, it sucks. If we were to compare, find the tool for fuck's sake. So if we were to compare these two opening breakouts, right? So this would be the opening range here. This, I'll turn this, I want to have manual control here. So if we were to compare both of these setups highlighted in red, and then it's the one we took to the downside here. What looks good about maybe, or what looks better, we should say. Good's a relative term here. So here's wrong tool. Okay, so what's the difference here potentially? Now we're talking about getting to a 1R move, right? We're not talking about more than that. You have gotten to 3R here. What's the difference? So here, okay, increasing volume, check. Here, increasing volume, check. Here, increasing volume, check. Well, to be honest with you, Abraham, I never take a trade thinking I'm going to be wrong before I enter it, right? If I think I'm going to be wrong before I enter it, I wouldn't enter that trade. I size my positions based on the relative amount of risk, right? So if I have a 3-point stop, I will buy more contracts than if I have a 5-point stop. So that's how I manage it, right? The idea is for that number to be consistent across the board, right? So how much I lose on a 3-point stop should be about the same that I lose on a 6-point stop or on a 10-point stop. I need to change my position sizing to always be consistent. Do you know what this one reminds me of? This reminds me of the setup we had the other day. Here kind of reminds me of this like 1040 breakout we had the other day. Abraham, inside your trading view trading panel, right? If you tick stop loss, like if you rewatch the video, if you tick stop loss, if I can do this here. Anyway, if you untick your, or if you open up your trading panel and you click stop loss, you type in the price of your stop loss, and then you type in the price of your entry. As you adjust the number of units, it'll tell you how much you will lose and how much you will make if your trade is correct. So that information is available to you, but please make sure that you're using it. Right, so there's 2 videos inside the Discord that walk you through how to do that. The one that I sent you there yesterday, and then there's one Yeah, position sizing and risk management in futures. So it's the last two videos posted inside the DTR Trading docs inside the Discord. Both of those videos will show you how to use the Trading View execution software so you know what your dollar loss should be. Alternatively, right, that's a number that you should be able to calculate in your head because one contract per point costs $50, right? So again, that information was provided to you inside the strategy document and inside the risk management guide. So you need to make sure that you're understanding how much each contract is worth prior to entering a trade, right? That number should never be a surprise. So if you're rushing into those decisions and you're forcing or just like making up your position sizing, reread those documents and put yourself in a situation where you're controlling that P&L. Well, yeah, the trading view it's just a dynamic calculator, right? It does the math for you. But you should be able to do that yourself, right? If one contract is $50 a point, it's $12.50 a tick. So if you have 10 contracts, right? Well, you know that you're moving $112.50 per tick and $500 per point. So you'll be able to do that math yourself too if you practice doing it. Fuck me sometimes. Oh. Frustrating when you miss. Well, no, I mean, ultimately, like this first breakout that occurred on ES, right, reminded me a lot of the one that occurred, right, on this 5-minute time frame the other day, right? Where was... Oh, it's on the 5-minute, whoops. Right, reminded me a lot of this Tuesday breakout. So pretty much the exact same candle shape as that. I don't know if I would have done anything different. The annoying part probably was yeah. I think the annoying part was just I was worried about getting chopped about, and I kind of let that happen. Like I knew that the outcomes today were either going to be trend day or chop day. I mean, it's dumb to phrase it like that. It's obvious, but I don't know if I protected myself enough from the chop. I was too excited for the breakout, I think. If I'm like really thinking about it. I would have the courage to take another shot here, but not much more than that. Look, the thing, and this is an unfortunate reality, right? But one of the reasons why we get so few setups and why our win rate is so high in equities is because we are incredibly picky, right? We filter out the ton of garbage. If we're going to be trying to play a pattern that has, well, more daily setups, right? More daily opportunities, it's going to be a little bit more frustration in the execution sometimes. Thing is, if you keep your losers small, except we're down, I'm down 7.5 points on the day. Keep your losers small. It's a pretty easy number to recover. It's the opening range, essentially, right, of what we've seen here in this morning's price action. So I don't think from like a risk management perspective, we've done anything particularly egregious or aggressive. I just want to win, though. I just want to win. And yeah, it's been a long 2 weeks of chop. I think one thing I need to also fight a little bit with this strategy, I gotta fight my own internal biases maybe a little bit more. I like being bearish when I'm day trading. It's fun. But maybe it shouldn't be as much, you know what I mean? I got one more shot in me here if I get a setup. Shaking up. I don't know. I'm going to trust the system. I'm going to trust my risk management. And I'm going to be as disciplined as I can with my executions. It is tough to experience variance. But I can absolutely here make my money back. If I don't, then it'll be a strikeout day. Fucking rare, but it'll happen. Frustrating, but it happens. So let's see. We have that increasing volume here now. 1, 2, 3 bounces off of that shelf. So let's see. Not a 3-min setup, right? Because this candle's opening up outside of the range and going higher. Guess in theory, maybe you could get a 10-min setup too. So now, right, if we were to set up an order window, so you guys can see, right? So here, Abraham, if you're in, right, if I set my stop loss to be 53.12, so click this, stop loss 53.12. Okay, and I set my entry price to be just the current market price. You can see, right, how much your P&L is changing. So here, right, if my stop loss is as is, I would lose $387.50 for one contract. If I buy two contracts, right, you can lose more, and you can see how it changes, right? So you, like this number here, right, is telling you how much you will lose if you are wrong. So you should not be entering a trade without knowing what that number is and if that number is less than what you expect it to be, right? If you don't tick that, then it will not update. And you have to fill in this price as your stop loss location. So in this context, my stop loss is 53.12. If I were to buy 1, 2, 3, 4, right, you can see how the P&L changes. So if you buy your max position here of 27, you're going to lose nearly $10,000, right? Way more than you'd be happy to accept. So if your max loss is $1,500, means you're buying 4 contracts, right? Or you're getting a deeper pullback so you can get more position sizing. Make sense? Do you see how that works? Abraham, does that make sense? Okay, good. So your max loss number, right, will be your total daily drawdown divided by 5, 6, or 7, whatever you prefer it to be. You might get a 10-minute look here as well. So yeah, we should always know how much we're going to lose, right? Every single trade. No excuses there. Because this only works if we keep that max loss number consistent. So my stop loss, if it's a 10-min signal or a 5-min signal, is going to be the same location. Okay, so still need to see that appropriate pullback here, right? We use the Fibonacci technique, right, to find our 3-to-1 risk reward entry. So we draw from our profit target down towards our stop loss location. And then that becomes your entry target, right? Anything under this 236 fib level or anything less than 53.1650 is considered a good trade, where you only need to be correct 30% of the time to be profitable on a decision. So in theory, right, we could see that math play out here to a certain extent. But that's the objective, right? It's always get 3-to-1 risk reward entry. And that's how we use the fib technique to get there. Again, there's a video in the Discord, Abraham, that explains that in a lot more detail. It's called Finding the Formula for Success. So please take a look at that over how to draw. We went over this in our call yesterday too. But it's that Fibonacci technique, right? Okay, so if my ideal entry price, right, is 536.50 and my stop loss is 53.1275, how many points is that and how much will it cost me per contract? So how much would your stop loss cost you here right now, right? So if you were to buy in at 53.1650 and you bought one contract and your stop loss was 53.1275, how much would you lose? And how did you come up with that number, Abraham? How many points is it? And how much is one contract worth per point? Okay, but what's the math, right? Just talked about how many dollars it is per point. So how much could it be? Got to understand, right, what we're trading. So we move one for every 1 point, right? Your P&L moves $50. There are 4 ticks in a point. So that means that each tick moves $12.50, right? So if you have a 1 point stop loss and one contract, how much would that cost you? No. If you had 1 point stop loss and one contract, how many ticks would that be? How many ticks are in 1 point? You're telling me how many ticks there are from your 53.1650 to your 53.1275. That's not what I'm asking, right? How many ticks are there in 1 point? And if your stop loss was 1 point away, how much would you lose? Yeah, spot on, Jamie. I know you know this. Okay, and how much is each tick worth, Abraham? Per contract. So if you have one contract, yeah, spot on. Apple dumping now? Wow, 173. What's the pass opening? PAS opening? I'm not sure what that means. Yeah, spot on, Abraham, right? So one E-mini contract or ES1 contract, right, per tick is worth $12.50. There are 4 ticks in a point. So 1 point is worth $50 per contract. Oh, I see what you mean. Oh, pass open. I see what you mean. Past opening. Yeah, I got you. Yeah, that would probably be the biggest concern here at some point. Nah, that's all good. We're pretty close up towards that end for sure. No, absolutely, yeah. Today's direction is pulling my hair out, but most other days. Okay, so watching closely here again. All right, I'm sizing to stay within my max loss number here, team, right? Not allowing myself to exceed that level. My max loss per trade is $1,500. Right, per account. So Abraham, if you were to buy, 10 contracts and your stop loss was 5 points away, how much would you lose? Yeah, spot on, John, spot on. You might, I'm not sure if you're fully live, John. You might be a little bit behind the live stream. So if you bought 10 contracts, right? And your stop loss was 5 points away from your entry price, how much would you expect to lose? So what would be the formula? So if one contract, right, costs you $50 a point and your stop loss is 5 points away, that means that your total liability per contract is 5 times 50, right? So what's 5 times 50? Well, it's $250. So then if you have 10 contracts, it's 250 times 10, right? So then your max loss would be $2,500, which would be $100 more, or sorry, $1,000 more than your max loss number. Okay, so let's watch here. I am being patient here, right? I want to get within $3 of my entry, or within my stop loss, sorry. There's 2. Try to get a fill. All right, there we go, guys. I am in average price 53.1475. Okay, up 2 points here so far. Yes, correct. Very rare air here, Rusty. Let's see if this thing can go. If I get fucking stopped out, oh my god. Come on, let's go. So Abraham, it's always, right, have a setup trigger, identify your confirmation, and then it's what we call boxing in your trade, right? So it's find your profit target, find your stop loss location, and work backwards to find your appropriate position sizing. Our job as a trader is to basically execute a strategy so that we can survive the variance that it gives us. And we only will be able to survive that variance if we're consistent in our execution technique. So the way I enter my trades is the same thing every single time, right? Stop loss always low of my confirmation candle, profit target always that kind of 2R level. And it's always, always, always that same thing. Right now, we're not getting a very good example of these trades coming together. Trying to be kind of fucking insane here today a little bit. For fuck's sake today. Ah. I feel very cursed today, guys. What the fuck? Any questions here, team? I don't. Oh. Man, I'm a cunt. Unbelievable. Man, I haven't had an 0 for 3 day in like 14 or 15 months. That's fucking crazy. Of course today would be the day. Of course. Good entry, Abraham. Very good entry. So where's your stop loss? So this would be your first scale out right here, right? Give or take. Close a quarter of your position about this spot. Okay. So guys, for whatever reason here this week, I've kind of gotten my ass kicked a little bit. Not been very happy with the way that I've traded. And it's been exceptionally frustrating. So I do apologize to you all about that here this week. You did not get the best version of me, and I'm very sorry for that. Kind of debating taking tomorrow off, to be honest with you guys. Kind of when I put my feet up instead of trading tomorrow. Oh yeah, I mean, look, ultimately, guys, it's fine. The P&L number here is it's reasonable. Like, it's fine to feel that way, but it also it just feels bad to strike out, right? Like, it feels bad to go 0 for 3 in my like gut. What I want to do, right, is make that all back. And generally, when you're in those situations. So my max loss per position, John, or per trade is $1,500. So I try to get within a 3-point stop loss so that I can buy 10 contracts. So every trade I try to take, it's within that 3-point range so I can buy 10 contracts at a time. What I'm going to do, guys, I am going to... yeah. If there's any questions, happy to answer any questions here. But I need to think about what I'm going to do tomorrow. Hey, Abraham, you're in a great spot here. So this would approximately be your 1R move, right? You're up about 1R at this point from your entry price. So this would be the place to close about a quarter of your position. Man, there's nothing that humbles you quite like the market. I'm sure there is, Solstein. I haven't found one personally that I like. Just bit the bullet and paid the $150 for one. What was that last entry? Oh, for fuck's sake. So yeah, guys, like not my worst P&L day in a long time, but my worst like trading win rate week in a very, very long time. So like I said, guys, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to do that. Yeah, there's often that. So I have kind of call it 2 risk management rules, right? I have a max loss number that I go for, and generally that should be 2% of my account, something like that. Look, the hardest thing to do right now is to walk away, right? Take your stop loss, right? Take your chips in, take a little break. What's challenging often as traders is that we often want to press when we don't have an advantage and we want to recoil when we do. So right now, right, you got to kind of, or at least I have to kind of fight against my instinct to try to want to make it back. Been wrong 3 times. There's no indication that I have a good feel for how the market is moving today. Or, I mean, look, there's system variance, there's whatever, there's all sorts of things. But today I saw the ugly sister, right? Or sort of the cons of this technique. Had a couple examples where we've seen some good, big, huge wins, right? Great payouts. But also, right, if we get stuck in a choppy market, can kind of fuck us. Today I kind of fucked myself a little bit. Catastrophic? No. End of the world? No. Worst losing day of the year? No. But yeah, I think just losing 3 times just makes you feel dumb. Okay, so important, right? On a day like today, very easy to sulk and wallow in one's own misery and to start to like feel sorry for ourselves, right? Well, to be very honest with you, it never really works. Never really gets me out of my funk. So it's important to recognize things that I did well. So, okay. On my long trades, you know what? I can probably accept those. I think those were probably still reasonable. Good risk reward, good position sizing. Patterns that I saw play out here already this week, and patterns that had been very successful, right, this week. So I'm okay with that. Maybe that downside trade was a little bit reactionary and a little bit too aggressive. But okay, all right. So 2 out of the 3 setups that I took, I think I probably should have taken. So that's a plus. That's fine. Did I lose more than I expected on any of my trades? No. Used hard stop losses on all of them. My position sizing was fine on all of them. What sucked? I never was green on any of my trades right away. And so I allowed a 3-point stop, right, actually hit when I could have got out at entry price, or I could have gotten out maybe 1 or 2 points down, right, where I didn't have to take a max loss. And that would have been a big difference, right? That would have made my P&L, instead of being down like $4,500, right? Maybe I could have been down $3K. So things to think about here tomorrow. Next time I trade, if I take a decision, if something happens, I should be green almost right away. If I'm not green right away, I should look to take my medicine as quickly as possible so that I can avoid feeling like shit when things get stuck. I think the most challenging element about this strategy is not getting stuck in chop days. And then if I were to also maybe think about a little bit how I woke up this morning, not like from a quality of sleep perspective or anything along those lines, but maybe, right, not maybe, for sure. I was desperate to see a resolution of that consolidation breakout, right? So desperate to see it. I wanted to see a move above that 2-week range we'd seen. And I don't know if I saw that on as much enthusiasm like I would have wanted to see to have called the breakout. So 2 things that I think I learned here today that I'm going to adapt and implement to my strategy, right? Big gap ups mean I don't want to be chasing breakouts here until momentum is beyond aggressive. I don't think that's overreactionary. I think that's a pretty reasonable idea. And then if my entry isn't correct, I need to have a realistic idea of what a shot clock should be for this trade. So if I'm not green within maybe 5 or 6 candles of my entry, right, that should be a reason to get out. So 2 conclusions, right? Extended price action needs to see extended volume, right, or bigger volume profiles. And extended price action can be characterized by a big gap up. Big is going to be relative here. And then, yeah, just because I'm set a hard stop loss at a number doesn't mean I can't be willing to accept a loser before then. So those are the 2 things I want to focus on here as much as possible over the next maybe a couple days, even just thinking about my trading a little bit this week in general. It's been emotional, I think, a little bit. And again, I think that emotion is a reflection of it just being not many opportunities and wanting to trade, right? So if I want to trade, well, I want to trade because I want to be green. So I end up wanting the result more than I want to be happy with how I got the result, maybe. Does that kind of make sense to you guys? I know it's been a little bit of a weird day. I'm sorry. Bit ranty and ravey and strange of me. But I always promise to show you guys the ups and downs, right? Fucking sucks to lose money when 40 people are watching. But yeah, guys, final call for questions here. I'm going to go do some exercise, clear my head. Always, Abraham, right? Like, this will be my last thing I say before I leave. But when I learned how to trade, right, I sat down next to a guy named Steph. And Steph had been trading at that fund for, probably a decade at that point. And he was awesome, right? But what made it easy for me to learn from Steph wasn't that he was the gentlest with his words, or that he was like actually like charming or anything like that. Like, he wasn't this incredible teacher by any means, but he was just very transparent over what he did, why he did, and how he reacted to something. Now, Steph was a freak. Like, if this happened to him, then he'd be doing himself a little touristy vacation, going from Amsterdam to Thailand back to Guernsey. But everyone loses, and everyone has days where they strike out, and everyone has days where the market fucking sucks. There's no hiding from it. And yeah, man, I wish I didn't lose money here today. I wish I wasn't having like a challenging week, or however you want to describe it. But that's what trading is. It doesn't go up in a straight line. It doesn't go up forever. And okay, I was up 47 grand on the year, pull back 4,500. I'll be okay. You know, it's not the end of the world, but we all know we lose, and we all have that baked into our back test and our system and all this kind of stuff. But it never feels good. It's never fun. It's never easy. Never makes you feel like you're actually good at it. But it's basically just not allowing it to trick us into doing something that we don't want to do. That ultimately then becomes the battle. So, okay, made a few mistakes here today. Got smacked around a little bit. Didn't blow my account. Didn't do anything that prevents me from trading again tomorrow. And so I can live to fight another day. And when I get 2 wins here now, right, to pull me back, then it's going to feel like you're going to feel incredibly confident about your trading and confident about your decision making and all those variables. So yeah, appreciate you guys taking the time here this afternoon or this morning. Hopefully a smoother couple days here coming up. I'll let you guys know what the plan is for me for tomorrow inside the stream. I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do here yet. But yeah, I'll let you guys know in the Discord what the goal is. But yeah, that's going to be it for me for the day. So if you guys have any questions, hit me up outside of market hours, and I'll do my best to get back to you as soon as I can. Otherwise, guys, right, spend a little bit of time reading up about futures, reading up about some of the contracts, how much they move, how much they're worth, those little things. We got to make sure that we understand what we're trading before we trade it. So yeah, that's it, guys. I'll be back at it again, maybe tomorrow. I'll let you know. And if not, have yourselves all a great one, and we'll catch up when we talk next. Peace.